This is our show on the road. It's called Spotlight, and basically what we're doing is we're taking the spotlight and shining it on you for the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Sweet, man.
I would like you just to start by saying, who are you and what are you up to?
Yeah, so my name's Travis. I live in Minneapolis. I have moved back here during COVID. I'm originally from Fargo, North Dakota. Grew up on a farm. Came down here to go to college, met a girl. We moved to California for a decade plus. Had kids, COVID happened, and we decided to move back here. So that is what I'm doing now. I've done the corporate thing for 15, 20 years, and then have left that behind. And now I am doing a little bit of strategic advisory work for startups, and then also fleshing out some ideas on my own. So a little bit of both. My wife is calling this my midlife crisis. She's like, you got a year, figure it out.
That's good support.
Yeah, it's good support. It's always good to have a good teammate. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Well, strategic advisory. Tell me more about that. What does that mean?
Yeah. So my last 6 years was in the legal central services kind of space. So everything to make a law firm or a law department run well. So it's all the business stuff as opposed to all the actual legal advice. And so we had big teams doing project management, technology, operations, a little bit of learning and development. And since no one grows up dreaming to do that, right? You don't want to be a firefighter or a jet pilot, whatever it happens to be. Nobody dreams of this. So it kind of fell into it, but it was great. Learned a ton. And now, as a result of that most recent experience, have been advising companies in the legal tech space. So that's where we have a couple that I'm advising right now, one that's out of stealth, one that's still in stealth and trying to find product market fit, trying to figure out what we're gonna launch with. And then also just meeting a ton of people here at Twin Cities Startup Week, because it's just been eye-opening how great the relationships are, just the fluid conversation around ideas and wouldn't it be cool if, and why can't people X, So it's been good. It's just really inspiring to be around people with that same level of energy and dreaming, I guess.
Awesome. Is this your first startup week?
It is, yeah. So I don't even remember how I got on this mailing list. And it just popped in my inbox, and I was like, it seems like a possibility. I'm probably picking up something cool, and it's definitely punched above its weight. I've gotten a lot more out of this than I expected. Came in not knowing what to expect, but it's been great.
Awesome. Have you been here since Monday then?
Yeah, Monday afternoon, and then we'll be here through today, I think. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me about some relationships or conversations that you've had, maybe without name dropping or get too deep into people's proprietary area, but just what's inspired you this week?
Sure. One of them was another person who'd been in the defense sector, is looking kind of for the next big challenge. I was trying to figure out what to do, and we've talked about less about the ideas and more so just about we've done corporate things for 15 or 20 years. And then you step back and you have this moment, you can call it a midlife crisis, you can call it like a crucible moment, you can call it like a pivot point. Like, who am I? Like, the first time I went to a conference and spoke at the conference, after I'd left that, somebody, kind of in an admin function was like, hey, we're prepping the preview slide with all the speakers' names. What do you want your title to be? And you don't work for a company anymore. Like, what do I put in this blank space? And I'm like, oh shit, I don't know. Who am I without a company name behind you? Without a title that's been given to you by HR. And that seems silly and easily fixed, and it is. But it's just kind of that moment where you're like, I don't know what that is anymore. And if I had the freedom to do whatever I wanted, then what do I really make that to be? And so found just in conversation about a presentation after we walked out of the session, I found somebody else who was just chatting, and then it kind of just got one layer deeper in the onion, and then one layer deeper in the onion, and found out that he'd kind of most recently, a few months ago, just been kind of going through that same process. We're able to like almost get on the same wavelength and be like, you too. And so it's nice to find people with that type of mentality to make sure you're not like feeling like the only one out there who feels this way sometimes. So that's on like the personal and EQ side, and then on the more startup side of things, it's been great to just run into people who are real, doing real things. Yesterday, I was in a session with a husband and wife who are starting something together. They've been doing the corporate and consulting thing for decades. They're in their mid-50s, and they just decided to start a side hustle. And they're like, we're 90 days in. Here's where we are, just like open book. Like, here's what we started with. Here's how we got the idea. Here's what we've done. We haven't left our day jobs. This is all like nights and weekends. It's just a real story of being, transparent. Here's the struggles we've had. Here's the mistakes we made. Don't do this. Definitely recommend that. So that's kind of nice to see too. People who are kind of right at that inception point, because I think it's inspiring for a lot of people who haven't quite made the leap yet and don't know what that next step is. So that was really, really good as well.
As I've kind of heard that as a theme of the people that I've talked to over the last couple of days, that it's like not only does it feel, I guess, in some way like a welcoming community where you really can share and kind of bear your fruit, but I think a lot of people are kind of they feel like now they can kind of open up in that way. You said like the husband wife, to where they're willing to say, hey, I don't know. You know what I mean? And just walk around to people who maybe have had some experience and can shed some light, or they can take that Rubik's Cube and turn it, slightly in a different way so they can look at it differently. I think that's been a really inspirational and enlightening thing that I've heard consistently over the last week or so. So what's next for you?
That's a great question. That's part of the reason I'm here is I'm talking to as many people as I can to try to like discern what that might look like. One of the interesting challenges I've put forward to other people as they've shared these great ideas, wouldn't it be cool if, and I was like, cool, when are you going to jump? Like, what's the next step? To try to like maybe in a friendly way, like poke a little bit and say like, okay, what's the next action step? And then I've gotten that one straight back to me. Like, what are you doing next? I was like, okay, fair play. And I don't know yet, but I think one of the biggest inspiring things from this week has been that there's not a lot of consequences to try. I think, I've got two little girls at home, and my wife and I talk sometimes about encouraging them to take strategic risks, like to take a chance, right? And there's a British guy, very famous TED Talk, Sir Ken Robinson, I think is his name. And he said the great thing about kids is if they don't know, they'll have a go. That was kind of the phrase that he used. If they don't know, they'll have a go. They'll take a chance. Like if I don't know how to draw a dinosaur, I'll at least try. It might look terrible, but there's no shame and embarrassment in trying. Like, and at some point in our development as humans, that sense of embarrassment and shame like creeps in. So I think it's great to be around people here who just like, you know what, like there's not a lot of consequences for trying as long as you do it in a smart way. So if you don't know, just have a go and see what happens and then figure it out from there. And so that's back to your original question, because I've diverged a little bit here. That's, I think, the biggest thing or biggest takeaway for me is like, you know what, there's a number of things and I don't know which one is. And I could probably try to ruminate and talk to a ton more people about, is this the right one? 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 And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. And I don't know if talking anymore is actually going to help. And I don't know if talking is actually getting me anything positive, or it's just giving me that sense of security because I don't actually have to try it. So I think the biggest takeaway from me this week is like next step is like I'm probably going to try a bunch of different stuff and just take the next step in each of them and see if there's progress and something fruitful. And if so, just keep pushing. What's that next step? What's that next step? Until I hit a roadblock that I just can't get past, or until I find a pivot point where I should really like double down. So, yeah.
Man, you've been, so my last question is always like, what inspires you? And you've pretty much given me a lot of inspiration already, but I'm still going to ask you the question. It's just, what gets you out of bed? Why do you keep going?
Yeah, that's a great question. I got two little girls at home. I've got an amazing wife that puts up with me for some reason. And so I think there's always that element, and kind of, you get into traditional roles to like protect and provide, right? But I am the sole breadwinner for the family. So there is an element of pressure to that, but also it doesn't have to be stressful and terrible. It can be like super exciting at the same time. And so I think, being able to show them, especially my kids, that you can do something that you love and also make a great living and raise a family in a great place like Minneapolis, is really inspiring that way. I think the biggest thing I gotten back into this too, because when you're a solo consultant like myself for the past year, one of the realizations I had was I didn't realize how much I relied on that community of people built in at a company. You work for 10,000, 100,000 person company. You're surrounded by people, like pings, emails, meetings. Like there's just a social element that's baked into that. And then you go solo, and you're at home, and you're like, well, it's 10:42 and it's kind of quiet around here, And so part of my social element is like gone from that. And so getting back into a community like this, I found like there is something really good about being in community and working on things together with good people. So that gets me out of the bed too. And I've realized now that when I don't have that, I miss it a ton. So whatever I do, I'm going to have to like find a community to plug into again. So
awesome, man. Yeah. Thanks for being our guest today.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate the chance to chat.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
All right. Thanks, man.